Today we will discuss on cast iron. Mm, Cast iron is basically obtained or by remelting pig iron. Remelting of pig iron is basically obtained from remelting of pig iron. Now the question will be come out in your mind that what is pig iron actually? It is nothing but it is the pig iron. It is the crude form of iron and is used as a raw material for the production of various ferrous metal. So cast iron is obtained by remelting of pig iron with coke and limestone in a furnace, which is known as actually cupola furnace. We already discussed on cupola furnace in manufacturing technology in previous semester. And one more point actually, it's basically an alloy. Obviously it is an alloy of iron and carbon. And you know that the carbon contents in cast iron varies from 1.7 to 4.5%. So carbon content varies from 1.7 to 4.5%. And this is basically cast iron. It may be present in either as free carbon or combined carbon. But there are some other, you know that the cast iron carbon percent is very much higher compared to the steel. So carbon percent is very much increased. So obviously you know that in any steel or any ferrous type of material, if the carbon percentage increase, the strength also is increased also, and ductility would be decreased. So in case of cast iron, carbon percentage increase, so obviously strength will be increased. As the strength increase, ductility will be decreased in this case. So obviously the cast iron is in brittle material because ductility is less. So cast iron is nothing, is a brittle material. You know that previous classes also. So you know that if it is a brittle material, so that cannot be used in those parts which are subjected to shocks or vibratory motions. So it cannot be used in subjected to in those parts. It cannot be used in those parts which are subjected to shocks, Now the properties of cast iron which makes it valuable from material from engineering purpose, because there are some advantage of cast iron also. First of all, if you note down one point, obviously the low cost is very much important point, and good casting characteristic. So that is an advantage. Good casting characteristic good casting characteristic, high compressive strength, high compressive strength, and obviously excellent machinability is an important property at there. Excellent machinability. So these are the advantage of cast iron, so that we can use as a cast iron in various applications. And one more point, the compressive strength of cast iron is much greater than the tensile strength. So these are the point in case of cast iron. Now, as you know that the normal steel is basically plain carbon steel. Similarly, but there are some alloy steel also where the carbon content are mixed together. Carbon content mixed together. That is basically steel, alloy steel actually. In this case also the cast iron. There are some others or small contents of other impurities that can be added, like silicon. That can be silicon, and that can be sulfur, phosphorus, manganese, and any other also material that can be used. But there is some certain advantage of silicon, sulfur, phosphorus, manganese in the cast iron when you add. So, and more important point, the cast iron actually four types. Generally, main four types of cast iron. Basically, you know that the point which is discussed in your study material. So first of all is gray cast iron. Gray cast iron. Now, obviously, the gray cast iron is ordinarily commercially iron having the carbon percentage of 3 to 3.5%. 3 to 3.5% carbon are generally contained in this gray cast iron, and the gray color is due to the fact that the carbon is present in the form of free graphite. So that's why it is called also gray cast iron, and it has low tensile strength, low tensile strength, low tensile strength, and high compressive strength. Low tensile but high compressive strength, and no ductility. So this is called actually gray cast iron in the form of free graphite, which is actually in a free atmosphere presence. So according to the Indian standard, gray cast iron is basically designated by the alphabet because of gray cast iron in the form of free graphite. So you can write down also designate the gray cast iron in terms of alphabet capital in the capital F, capital G. And suppose in any cases if it suggests that FG 200, that means that it suggests that gray cast iron with means gray cast iron actually tensile strength is, and actually if this suggests that FG followed by some number like FG 200, that it suggests gray cast iron with 200 gray cast iron with 200 Newton per millimeter square as minimum tensile strength. So as minimum tensile strength. So Fg 200, it suggests that Fg means free graphite because of in the gray cast iron the carbon content or the commercially the graphite is basically in the form of free graphite, and so that's why it's a Fg it suggests, and that figures means it may be 150, it may be 200, it may be 250, that it suggests that minimum tensile strength that can be given by the gray cast iron. So that's all from the next cast iron part. Next, or different types of next part of the cast iron, that is basically white cast iron. So that is white cast iron. So these are second categories of cast iron, where in a particular cast iron the carbon percentage is basically 1.75 to 2.3% of carbon. In case of grey cast iron, the carbon content was 3 to 3.5% carbon, and in grey cast iron the carbon content actually is in the form of free. And now in the white cast iron, as the name suggests, the white color is due to because the cast iron is basically in white in the form, due to the fact the carbon is the form of carbide known as cementite, because now the carbon in this case, carbon in the form of carbide carbon in the form of carbide, and you know that the form of carbide, that is nothing but cementite. When we discuss in iron carbon equilibrium diagram, the cementite term is actually coming, that is nothing but Fe3C. It's an intermetallic compound, so Fe3C. And you know that in any steel composition, if the cementite percentage is present or cementite phase is present, the strength will be increased in that case. So in case of white cast iron, as the carbon is present in the form of carbide or cementite, so obviously there is hard constituent is actually present. Now obviously the white cast iron has a high tensile strength and low compressive strength. So it's a high tensile strength as well as low compressive strength. So main 3 points are there. So the carbon percentage in the white cast iron is 1.75 to 2.3% carbon, and carbon in the form of carbide is actually present in the white cast iron, which is nothing but in the form of cementite. Cementite is nothing but is actually intermetallic compound, which is a mixture of Fe and C. Is intermetallic compound, which are actually discussed on your iron carbon equilibrium diagram. Because of the presence of cementite in the white cast iron, they produce actually high tensile strength. Obviously they will give the low compressive strength. So this white cast iron. The next part of cast iron is that, or number 3 types of cast iron, that is malleable cast iron. Now malleable cast iron, actually it is one type of cast iron which is actually obtained from the suitable heat treatment process. That name is actually, it is obtained by a heat treatment process that is basically annealing. That heat treatment process name is annealing. And the malleable cast iron, actually in the form of white earth, black earth or pyrrolitic, and design it as a WM, BM or PM, and obviously as in case of grey cast iron HG200, like that, if the name suggests WM350 or WM300, it suggests that heat malleable cast iron with minimum 300 megapascal as a minimum tensile strength. So that's all. Malleable cast iron, and further details will be given to your study materials. Go to the study materials, and if you any queries or any assist you require, you can call me. And next is spherical gray cast iron, spherical spheroidal graphite cast iron. So the main four types of cast iron was, first was so gray cast iron, first content. Second was white cast iron, semi-level cast iron, and spheroidal cast iron, or it's sometimes also called nodular cast iron. Nodular cast iron. Now it is sometimes also called ductile cast iron, also ductile. So the spheroidal cast iron, nodular cast iron, ductile cast iron, actually both are same. Now actually this type of cast iron is obtained by the adding small amounts of magnesium. By adding, it's obtained by adding small amount of magnesium the percentage of magnesium was 0.1 to 0.8% to the molten gray cast iron, to the molten gray cast iron, yeah, sorry, gray iron, sorry, not cast iron, it's a great iron, molten gray iron, just after tapping. So similarly, the designation or specification of the nodular cast iron or spheroidal cast iron or ductile cast iron is designated by SG. So FG, SG, and WM, PM, PM, like that. So SG, it suggests that spheroidal graphite cast iron. In the case of spheroidal cast iron, if it is suggest that SG 315 means spheroidal clay cast iron with 300 megapascal as minimum tensile strength and 15, it suggests that percentage of elongation. Okay, so 315 SG as like 420, that means spheroidal clay cast iron which has a minimum tensile strength of 400 and with elongation, with the percentage of elongation, that is 20. Okay, so these are the some basic idea of the cast iron, which is already given to you in your study material, and the basic types of cast iron, like white cast iron, graphite, white gray cast iron, white cast iron, graphite cast iron, nodular cast iron, and malleable cast iron. Okay, now in the next class we'll discuss on copper and their alloys. Okay, copper and their alloy. So obviously copper is nothing. Copper is one of the most widely used non-ferrous metal in an industry, and it is found in the pure state from under on the earth, and it is some minerals such as copper, like copper pyrites, melanite, and azotrite. So this is copper and its alloys, and we can discuss in the next class. Okay, and before any queries you can contact with me. And okay, thank you very much for your patience to listening me, and goodbye.